Hey guys, welcome back. This is the comeback episode of the VV Vintage podcast. Today we'll be talking about three things. First of all, the main reason why comic books were heavily censored in the United States for a long time. Secondly, we'll talk about the things that Mr. V and I have purchased over the past couple months and why we took a long break. Side note, I recently bought a third Top Batman. I'm so excited to tell you guys about it. Last but not least, we'll be talking about the implementation of AI in the VeVeVerse, which is actually coming up, by the way. And I'll show you a demonstration of how it would dramatically make it a whole lot easier for everybody to use the VeVeVerse and increase adoption. Let's get to it.
VeVe's the playground where collectors unite, shining in this digital endless night.
Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new episode of the VV Vantage podcast. It's been a very long time, and yeah, we took a long break, but we are back. And so Mr. V recently sent me a whole lot of notes that really caught my attention, and it's so interesting. I am forcing him to get started first.
Okay. All right. Um, but yeah, it's good to be back. It was a very much needed break for many reasons, I think, for both of us. But I would like to preface what I'm going to share, like about what I've been doing on the app and all of that. Um, just kind of pointing out that I think that the community did a really good job of covering a lot of the updates, and by community I mean like both the company and uh, the influencers, the people who have their who are very active on socials. They did a really good job of pointing out any pros, any cons, and ongoing developments. And I really didn't feel like we had much to say for the past couple of months, just because like everyone was just on their A game. So, props to everybody, both for the good and the bad, because, you can't have good without the bad, right? So I thought that was pretty, it was a nice little break.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I was definitely burned out from work, so I didn't really want to be too active on socials either. So that gave us a much needed opportunity to decompress. Yeah, so I got a few collectibles, and then I got some comics. I'll start off with the collectibles because the comic side of things I thought was a little bit more interesting. So I got the latest Doctor Doom. It was the animated collectible with like it was from the latest crafting that people got to do. So people had to burn the FA collectibles of the Fantastic Four in order to craft these non-FA animated versions. I
Mm.
did not participate in burning anything or crafting the new collectibles, and I wasn't even planning on doing any buying, but coincidentally, somebody that we both know um, crafted the Doctor Doom with an edition that I liked. So I just figured I'd grab that from him. Made a good deal, and I think he was happy with what he got out of it. And I was pretty happy because I don't have the FA Doctor Doom yet, and I haven't found an edition that I like. So this is a nice addition to the collection.
Yeah.
The
Can
second thing
you tell who this person is?
Yeah, it was Master Roni.
Oh, okay,
He's
okay.
yeah, he
Yeah.
uh, he's been very active with the VeVeVerse, and
Yeah.
he's the first guy to
To
get
get paid.
paid for building somebody's space in the VeVeVerse. So big thank you to him, and big props to him for putting in the work when and being ready for that opportunity when it became available. So very happy for him. That's a pretty cool thing to see people get compensated for their good work. Um, the second collectible that I got that I'll talk about was the Galactus secret rare. There are five editions, I think, five or six editions if you count the special edition. But I got the secret rare with the edition that I like, and there were only 300 editions.
Wow.
So so I'm pretty happy about that. It was also somebody in the community who got it, and they were very kind. Um, and held on to it for me. I mean, I bought it the same day that they got it, I think, or maybe the next day, but they held on to it for me and disregarded any other people who, or not disregarded, but they put everybody else on hold because they knew that I really wanted it and that I'm dedicated to how I collect. So that's always appreciated and not a
Yeah.
given, especially in given today's tough climate with
Good
making deals and people
good luck to
trying.
that person if he didn't hold it for you, you know. We would have called him out a whole lot in this episode.
No, no. I mean, yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
I may have been stalking. So anyways, so th those are just the only two significant collectibles that I got recently in the past couple months. I haven't been super active in terms of getting anything in particular. I try to do some stacking again, but then I'm like, this isn't me. So it is what it is. I was bored for a little bit, so I was just trying to find reasons to be active, but at least I found a couple of things. And one of those among aside from those two collectibles I mentioned were the comics, like you mentioned. And I'm not I'm not a comic person, nor am I going to pretend like I ever was. But this one I thought was pretty cool because I like Disney. And this one is the FA comic of Uncle Scrooge, Donald Duck's uncle. And this one was published in 1947 during the Golden Age. This comic is called Christmas on Bear Mountain, #1. And I got a couple of nice editions. There's 2,000 copies on VeVe total, and the first one that I got was a secret rare, and there were 80 copies, 80 secret rare copies. What kind of sold me on this a little bit more, I mean, aside from my affinity for the character, and I'll get to that in a second, was that a much older comic. As I mentioned, it's a golden age comic, and that era spanned from the late 1930s to the mid 1950s. And yeah, I used to watch DuckTales on the Disney Channel growing up, and I liked the characters and like Uncle Scrooge. He had a big vault, and he would be diving into his like vault full of gold coins and money and all this stuff. So um,
Well,
that caught my
the
attention.
the golden age, mid 50s. That's like before Spider-Man and Iron Man and like these are like super old comic books.
Yeah, and so from what I was from what I understand, and this is coming from somebody who's really, really raw, really green when it comes to comics and like the history of them, and timelines and all of that. During that golden age of the late 1930s to the mid 1950s, again, this is what I read. It started off with Action Comics #1, so the
Yep.
very first Superman comic, and that era ended when and I'm reading off of my notes here, so excuse me for that, but it ended when the United States Senate subcommittee on juvenile delinquency was trying to figure out what was causing youth to act out with like a bunch of illegal behavior in that span of time. So like in the by the early 1950s, mid 1950s. So they were trying to find a scapegoat. And
Mm.
one of those scapegoats turned out to be the comics, and like there were motifs, recurring themes, maybe trends, maybe illustrations that were not really uh, favorable with the older generation. And in lieu of the publishers allowing the government to come up with a way to censor them, they decided to censor themselves. And they created this organization called the Comics Code Authority. Again, that's the Comics Code Authority, and it's just the publishers kind of teaming together trying to censor themselves.
Wow.
And what they did to show that they were abiding by this self-censoring practice was they put like a stamp or like a little logo or a little mark on the comics to show that they put the effort in and that they took care of any concerns that were expressed by the United States Senate Subcommittee on Juvenile Delinquency, and there you have it. So that's kind of what marked the end of the golden age, and that was coined by another guy. Like the first time that was coined, it was another guy. I don't remember his name, but that was a big enough um, situation, a big enough circumstance to delineate what a significant period of time was. And then also interesting note. So after that golden age, fast forward several decades, Marvel Comics stopped using that stamp or that logo, that um, Comics Code Authority logo in 2001. So
Wow.
they stuck by it up until 2001.
Wow. Half a
And
century.
yeah, and then that the Comics Code Authority kind of fell apart in 2011 when the other publishers were just kind of like phasing out of sticking to those guidelines from what was it, the mid 1950s. So 60 years that a little over 60 years that held together among publishers.
Wow.
Um,
So
so
it's like the PG-13 tag or like R-rated tag on movies nowadays, right?
yeah, pretty much.
But they had
And
to self-censor themselves. And so that basically started the end of the golden age. So they call it golden age because from 1938 to like the mid 50s, there were a lot more freedom of like expression and like freedom of speech in a way in these comic books. So that's why they name it the golden age. And then for a long period of time, that got constrained a little bit with these self censorship until the early 2000s.
exactly. Yep.
Wow.
That's right. And not that I don't think that there's any direct correlation, nor is this more, nor would this be of interest to most people. But for me, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, when I was doing my undergrad studies, I did an independent study for the head of the department. And I was an English literature major. My favorite was British literature. I love British literature, um, and I read more than most people should or would in their lives at that in that span of my life. But um, this reminds me a lot of um, Taboo with vampires.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting because like everything always starts in poetry, and the reason why vampires were so taboo was because they always convey they always they were always affiliated with what was shunned on in that period of time. So I won't get into the themes of like the different eras, but I will say that with the same thing happened with vampire novels, and you'll even see it today with the more modern books and movies. Whatever parents don't want their kids to get involved with, a lot of the vampires will start those stories will start incorporating the vampires acting out on those um, things that parents don't want their kids to be involved with or do or act out.
Ah.
So I feel like this was more of a by the 1950s. I think that was a little bit more of a modern version of censorship. So a lot of parents knew that kids shouldn't read the vampire novels because it talked about the stuff that they shouldn't be doing, and so it'd be tough for those people to access those things as their kids. But when they get older, they start reading it and they really get into it, right?
Mm.
So imagine like when as things were being shunned on um, as things were being shunned up until the mid 1950s, and the government doesn't want kids to be reading this stuff, and parents are going to be start getting involved and not wanting their kids to read this stuff. What do you think kids are going to do? They want to read it. They
Yeah.
want to read it, and they're going to hold on to those things and hide
Yeah.
those comics and hold on to them. So I think that that may have played a pretty big in a pretty big factor, and had a lot of influence on the sentimental value and the intrinsic value of these comics, is because when the publishers started censoring themselves, and the newer and those comics after that during the next age weren't as good, possibly, arguably not as good or not as diverse,
hmm
people are going to want those things that you can't have or shouldn't have.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty
Yeah.
interesting from an
Super
academic
interesting.
standpoint. But yeah, so that's what's been on my mind a little bit when it comes to the comics stuff with VeVe and the golden age. And but enough about me. What have you been up to? And like, have you been involved in the market?
Yes. I recently bought my third Todd Batman. I haven't bought anything for a long time. And so I sold a few things. I sold a Wolverine, I sold a Marvel logo, and I recently sold a comic book. It's a whole comic book, and I landed the last mint on a drop. 35,000 was the mint. And so
Phew.
I sold it to Robert Sato. VV username is Husk Show.
Yep.
He was a previous guest on the podcast. Super nice guy. So shout out to Robert. So I sold those things to fund my third thought, and then I'm hoping to get a fourth one in the next month or two. And I also have a couple more things listed, like low mint Marvel logo. The second one, I landed two on the drop.
Hmm.
No, I landed one and I bought an extra one, but like, at a pretty low price. Wait, hold on. The Marvel logo, was that like a secret drop?
Yeah, it was unannounced
Yep.
at New York Comic Con.
Yes, that was the one. So I landed two on a drop. And I saw one. I have my second one listed. The mint is 176, so it's pretty low mint. I think I might have a third one too. I forgot, but I landed a couple from a secret drop. Somebody mentioned it on Facebook, so I went and bought a couple. The second one that is being listed, I haven't sold, is a hovering DeLorean. So like the not the original DeLorean, but the one that can fly. The mint
Oh.
number is 4567. So it's a pretty nice mint too. So I've been selling things to fund Todd. And so I don't even care about the drops. Like if you would ask me about like all these upgrades and like crafting, I would not know anything. And the reason is I just had my fourth anniversary of VV. And the
Mhm.
longer I've been in the community and like watching the company grows, the stronger my commitment to the FAs. And me not being a whale, seeing Todd with all the FAs like, Batman, DC, and then the first drop on BB being at this price right now, it's like 330, 350 for like a 3,000-ish mint, which is where I want to get. So like 350, 330 for Todd is, I feel like, very reasonable. Obviously, not a financial advice to anybody. That's what I think. And so Yeah, my third Todd I just bought a couple days ago. I got it for a really good deal. Like I paid 330. And the mins was like lower 3000s or something like that. Beside Toss, I also noticed a whole lot of other FAs at very reasonable price. For example, Superman is at maybe 160, which is super close to the drop price of maybe $50 or something like that. Um, and so other things like Iron Man 2. And the reason why I've been paying more attention to these FA is because VeVe is about to do affiliate marketing. And so when
Mm,
people come in, they'll be looking at things that are A, popular, that are early, and that are safe, which are my criteria for buying these things. I don't think that there's going to be any huge catalyst other than the affiliate marketing program and the VeVeVerse, which is fantastic, by the way. But it just feels safe for me to slowly get back to it. Maybe, yeah, maybe like selling things that I don't even care about and focus
mhm.
on just the FAs. And then the other stuff like look pretty good too. For example, I think the partner set 2 is maybe 1100, and then Secret Rare Spider-Man is at 3000, which is not a lot compared to how high it went a long time ago. But even if we don't talk about that super high price due to like the dirty gems and things like that, like 3000 for the first, I don't have one by the way, so I'm not pumping it.
Me
I'm,
neither.
I'm not planning to buy one anytime soon, but $3,000 for the first Spider-Man collectible, the first Marvel collectible, maybe, sounds like a pretty good deal for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to move out of the things that you're not really fond of, that
Hmm.
you don't really care for, and just moving it. If you're in doubt of like what to go for, yeah, definitely like the biggest, some of the biggest characters, and and moving the funds into those. That's a really smart idea. Um, I'm all for that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of like,
I'm not a seller, so this is kind of like my first time starting selling multiple things at once. And the funny reason why I haven't sold things is because when I open them up and I see how much I paid for like a Wonder Woman, which was like 1100 back in the days,
oh,
man, that
yeah.
hurts. That hurts to the bone. So, um, yeah, I'm getting over it, and so now I'm just getting rid of things I don't need and focus on the FA. So my goal right now, I'm kind of split between Omi and Todd. That's all I care about. So I hope to get a Todd every 2 months or so, just to keep me not foaming, and I don't care too much about a price, simply because again, like for a significant piece like Todd,
Mhm.
I don't think it can go much lower than it is
Don't
right
say
now.
that.
I
Don't
know,
ever say
I
that.
know.
Never say never. Never
Yes,
say
yes.
never. I mean,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
yeah,
But the thing is, like,
too
I don't.
smart. You're too smart to say that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, I've been looking at the price for years. I've never seen it this low, and I'm not pumping it. I'm not buying to sell later. That's why I'm not buying multiple at once now. That's what I said. I want to get one every 2 months, and
Mhm.
slowly like just have like a maybe 5 or 6 tots, and that's all I care about. Yeah.
Yeah, excuse me. Those are solid holds. If anything, definitely like the go-to pieces.
Yeah.
Um, I still don't have. I don't still have those. I still don't have that. I don't have a Superman. I don't have a Todd, and a lot of other things. But um, I don't. I'm not in any particular rush. And but that again, that's just me. Just like you've got your thing, your approach. Um, everyone's got, you know, everyone's going about it differently, and I think that's important to always keep in mind as
Yeah.
we're observing people in the space. Um,
You know what surprised me though?
Yeah.
The
What's up?
VeVeVerse surprised me a whole lot. So
How's that?
I was in a beta group, and now it's public, so I guess I can say it. I downloaded it, I got into it for like 10 minutes, and I closed the app, and I have not touched it ever since. It was just like too hard for me.
Can I tell you something?
Okay, go on.
I got invited. I got the early access,
Yeah.
but I heard about it, and embarrassingly enough, I'm running off of a MacBook from grad school from like a decade ago, and my computer was just way too slow, and I couldn't access it.
Well,
And
this
I was
is
like, and I'm
you.
not, and uh I'm not inclined to buy a new computer when my phone does just about everything that I could want it to do. Um, so yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. But
Well, this is even more embarrassing. My laptop is pretty new. I have a 2023 MacBook Pro with an M2 chip, M2 Pro chip. So, like to those who know about MacBooks, this is like pretty high level. But things like, so it loads fine for me. But the thing is, I'm not the person who can create art, and I just don't have the patience to like set things and like change the sizing and like the lighting, all those kind of things. What I'm excited for though is the ability to add AI to it. One thing that I've been doing a whole lot over the past couple months is messing around with AI agents, and it's been blowing my mind every single day. So like I don't even code. I don't know how to code beside basic like data programming languages stuff. And like if you were to tell me 6 months ago, hey Will, you can create an app that works, like a very basic app that works in a day, I would be laughing at you. But then now that's what I do. So like the advancement of data, particularly AI agent, and so to those who might not be everybody use AI nowadays, so I'm not going to explain too much about it. It's like you use ChatGPT, that's AI, right? But then ChatGPT is at right now, it is when you're using it, you use it as more of like a conversational way. Like you ask question, it answers you, and then you kind of like use region um to discuss things with it. But the thing about the AI agent is think of ChatGPT that does things for you. So a lot of the companies, particularly in the software space, have been integrating the AI platforms like ChatGPT or Anthropic, um, among others, into like adding capability into it. So what I do now is like the buzzword is called vibe coding, meaning all I do if I want to create, let's just say like a weather app, is I type in I want to create a weather app that shows the high and low temperature um, in the next 5 days, and the user should be able to look up any zip code or city or state, and the location and the app will display the weather like high low temperature, like pollen data, those kind of things, and like it's like magic. So I
so
type it in and it just create an app for me.
so you say that you're typing it in, but there's also the capability to dictate it, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not to if you don't want, I mean, there's the option, as I understand it.
hmm
Not only can you type it in, but you can dictate, you can tell it, and the more you speak to this AI agent,
hmm
you can it gets familiar with how you speak and how you talk to it,
Yeah.
and it starts processing things quicker and quicker over time as it starts to understand what it is
Exactly.
that you ask for things, and
Yeah.
then it's kind of bouncing back and forth. So the more you use it, the more efficient you get, and the more effective it is,
Yeah.
and
So
more
let me show
productive.
you. Well, I will talk about an example. So, well, actually, maybe I can share my screen. to show you exactly what I'm building that has something to do with VeVe. Hold on. So what I'm doing now is I'm creating a sort of like a directory for um, digital collectible first appearances, right? So this is all what I do. So let's just say, and so what
Will,
I'm do, yeah, go on.
sorry to cut you off. Um, are you gonna crop out the top bar?
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, this is the AI agent that I'm talking to.
No, but you're like tabs.
Oh, my tab. Yeah, yeah, I will. Yep, I will. Yeah,
Okay. All right, and I'm sure you're gonna crop this out, but anyways, go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
So this is the AI agent I'm talking about, and this is how I'm demonstrating that it's gonna change VV. So this is an app that I'm working on. It's more like a website rather than an app. But so the functionality of the app will be is sort of like a directory for VV collectibles, so that people can come in, they can read about like the first Spider-Man NFT, so on and so forth, and they can have some basic information about it, and what it looks like, how many editions are there, so on and so forth, right? And so the reason why I'm creating this is because the affiliate marketing program is coming up,
Mhm.
and I expect new users to be coming in, and so I'm creating this so that they can have a resource to do their research about these digital collectibles. Um, so think of this as like your Weverse, right? And what I would do now is I'm gonna ask my AI agent to change something of the website by just typing in. So I'm gonna type change the background to give me a color.
Beige.
How do
B
you
E
spell it?
I G.
Beige.
Yeah.
And the font to Times News Roman. Okay, that's all I'm doing. In the past, like you would have to write code, but so the agent is loading over here, and then what it does is that it would do all of those things for me. Just give it a second. See? So think of this as
Wow.
your Viva space. This is all you're doing, right? Like instead of like me resizing and like I don't know, like putting oh yeah, see like the whole thing changed to Time News Roman, and beige as the background color. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm excited for the Vivos is because um, so AI automatically knows based on like very human understandable prompt what to do. And because it already like it's been talking me to for me for a while, it kind of have some context about me and what I
Yeah.
want to do. So what I envision the Vivos to have would be like you typing in like, hey, I want to build the like a villa with a pool and three garage, and a villa will be uh like 50 feet tall or something like that. And AI like AI agents nowadays are smart enough to automatically go and look at different elements in your library, choose the right color. Like if you want to have a pool,
Mhm.
it has enough knowledge in itself to know that the water is blue. Or like if you want to have like a garage, it is smart enough to know that you're gonna need a garage door, or like things like that. Or like if you want to have like stairs to the front door of your home, it has enough knowledge and capability nowadays to pick out like the different platforms and just like stack them up in a way that looks like a stair. So I think that's gonna be like the driving factor for the adoption of the Weverse. Does that make sense?
It does, and I like it because much like yourself, I'm not if you give me a lot of like different tools and a blank canvas, or like blank space in the VeVeVerse, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Like
Yeah,
for me, I
that
need
was
to
me
have
too.
instructions in front of myself and directions, very specific directions for me just to get started. So that yeah, that's the kind of it's a that's the kind of person I am too. So I like the idea to be able to um, dictate some ideas and then just
Hmm.
kind of going off of that and having that save me a lot of time and effort. So uh, that is that's very cool. I
Yeah.
like
What I
how
just
you
showed you when I was sharing my screen, like the website I was working on, usually it would have taken me as a total beginner who doesn't know how to code a couple months, like 3 to 6 months, just to get it to where it is right now. But this one took me like a couple hours. So it's pretty mind blowing. So that is it, everybody, and we hope to see you again next time.